sure you push the button.
When?
You're thinking to do more.
You know what?
We're gonna there. All right, 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item is the approval of the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mike,
I'll second it.
second by Arvid, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right, approval of the consent agenda items, which is in front of you. Minute to the last monthly meeting, license and permits,
Skip the overall agenda.
overall.
The vote.
Do you want?
I think, oh, never mind, sorry. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Arvid, second by Mike, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public input and ideas, 5 minutes per speaker. If you want to come up and give your name and your address, make sure you turn on your microphone. All right. Anybody's got anything to say or talk about, comments? All right. Continuing. All right, staff reports. Public Works,
I might want to skip Todd for the meeting,
where did he go?
the roof, I'm guessing.
Oh, good work. Utilities.
I'll also head to the roof.
That's a good one.
Got it.
There's no water or sewer up there.
Yeah,
That's right. Hey, everyone. Welcome, Nicole. We haven't met. I'm Rick. Good to meet you.
Thank you.
Uh,
Good to meet you too.
So, Flushing. I wasn't prepared now. I'm just going to ad lib here because I expected Todd to go before me and just give me a second to jump into it. But so, High Zone Flushing is underway. We scheduled a clean tower clean out for next week. So we'll flip over to the low zone where we'll start flushing the low zone after the tower clean out, where that's actually drained and then the inside's disinfected and cleaned out and coatings are inspected at that point. In addition to the report, I've been working through the project refinement on the water main with Eric. I think we have a good path forward. I think we've nailed down, and addressed some of the concerns that we got from the contractors. I know Eric, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Eric, but I know Eric had reached out to another contractor. I know we didn't get bids, but the contractor said, "Oh yeah, I would have bid that. Like, we were just busy, So I think addressing some of those concerns, going forward that the other contractors that did give us, I think we just, we're going to be in a good spot coming this fall. We're also working with Trilogy on our utility capital planning, making sure that we're aligned with the village capital plans. It's a good time to do that because we got that draft of the facility plan together, and we'll be aligning those and prioritizing those projects and working them into the plan as they fit. So, any questions?
When did you pick a date for the water sewer meeting?
No, like to go to bid.
No, the water sewer meeting. Remember you
Oh,
threw the date
yeah.
out and I said I'm not available.
Yep.
Threw out a couple of options and you were gonna
get back to you on that.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't actually need any board approval for anything I'm working right now. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to cancel that meeting or postpone it. I haven't decided yet. So to give you an answer on the fly, that's the one.
Okay.
But I'll follow up with you guys on email on that one.
I'd love to get into details on what you're changing on that bid so we do get quotes.
Yeah. We've got some time. Like I talked last meeting, we've got a little bit of time on it because we're not changing. And Eric, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. Sorry to put you on the spot again. Because we're not changing the direct path, we're not changing enough to where we'd have to refile for the loan documents, saying that we're going to go in a completely different area and do a completely different thing. That was the major push from before. So if we're going to go out for bid in fall, maybe?
Yeah, I'll correct you. We actually do have to reapply for DNR, which is end of June.
Right. But it's not a full change, right?
Right. You just have to up your application.
Re-up the application and things, but it's going to be quite a bit of a heavier lift if we had gone a different path.
Is it a loan application or?
It's a loan application for the safe drinking water loan.
So the plan is to maybe get it out for bid and do it next year?
Yeah, because we have to meet that timeframe with the bats. So that's the other constraint that we have
That's
on
right.
it, which is May through August.
May 15th, August 15th. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I got my dates right, so I'm not giving you guys right information. So, but yeah, I feel like we have a good path forward. And we got a little bit of time. Take a look
Well,
at it.
considering the holiday landed around your meeting, it sure
It's
canceled
always a tough one.
Yep.
So
for everybody.
yeah, I'll be out of town the week after that you proposed. So that's what it is sometimes, guys.
See you in a few months.
Yeah, right on. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Greg.
you.
Todd, if you want to go ahead and come on up.
As you can see, we're having, hello, everyone. Good evening. Issues again, high pressures, low pressures, sensors beyond 3 of the 4 units were down earlier today. Gave us trouble last week. Tweet Garrett will be here this Thursday, and then Tweet Garrett and Train will be here. The program writers will be here jointly together within the next 2 weeks so we can try and resolve these issues. It was a busy month. We'll look forward to just running around crazy until about July. But a lot of programs, a lot of entities that we're working with, 4 to be exact right now, everything from Grow Osceola to the Braves. We're working with Trails and Parks, working with the skate park on the beautification and getting things wrapped up with the landscaping on top of all of our other maintenance stuff. So as you can see, we got our curbside leaf bag removals that occurred for 2 weeks, ended the 29th. So if you're seeing more bags out there, they either didn't meet parameters or they just weren't out in time. We followed that with brush chipping. The first week of May, curbside brush chipping, both were hugely successful programs. We acquired close to, again, between 600 and 700 leaf bags, and we're providing black dirt for all residents at the end of Depot Road along with wood chips. Those are available now. We put over 100 miles on our street sweeper just within the village alone, and we got over to Dresser, cleaned their stuff up, bartering for equipment and stuff like that. So it worked out very well. I did provide some pictures, I think. One that I didn't provide was about a triple axle dump truck load of what we collected just in our first round of the village with the street sweeper. Pile is 25 feet high, but 30 feet in circumference. It's big. So a lot of debris. We got it all cleaned up. Things are looking very good. The 97 Pelican street sweeper that went to auction. I attempted sort of a private auction or public auction, you could say, online. $14,750 was the highest bid. I had it set at a minimum of 20, so it didn't pass. So we're seeking other solutions. Going to get it back on some government surplus. I reach out to multiple companies, and I'm waiting to reach out to multiple more private companies that might be interested in it. We're seeking between 20 and 30K. All trucks have been converted. Our patrol trucks, everything's been broken down. Snow removal equipment removed. April provided us with a good jump into getting into the summer season, so we're ready to go. On the summer side of things, we're in full operations now. As I mentioned, WisDOT permits, tree grades downtown. I know, Mike, as you touched on last month, that was the top of our list. We were able to complete that. We do have one. We're gonna have to have the concrete, 3 concrete pads surrounding it. Everything has moved so much, so that'll be part of our sidewalk and curb replacement. Potholes continues. As in the pictures, you can see we burned multiple sites. Mill Pond Dam has been exercised. We want to make sure that it's cleared, ready to go for the summer, ready to go for the spring rains. That was completed. Everything looks good. Pulled all netting from the skate park, like I mentioned earlier. Remediation and landscaping again as time allows us. All park restrooms are now open for resident and visitor use. Everything's functioning well. We submitted an application to the Lions Club for donation for a water fountain and bottle filler. And they have approved our application. So got the unit on order. We'll look forward on the south side of the pavilion where there was some semi-existing infrastructure and replacing our existing, which we've removed already. And we look forward to getting this one installed appropriately. The water line we installed in the fall, it's all ready to go. Infrastructure at the Braves Field. We made sure that everything was ready to go for this season. Fortunately, when the water was turned on, we have a couple of holes in the water line that feeds their snack shack, whatever you might want to call it. So we worked hard on that to try and meet the season opening tomorrow. Harbor Day planting was successful. Got 2 new white pines planted in Mill Pond. Beautification efforts in public spaces also began in April. New drip lines, working hard with Grow Osceola planters. They've already contacted me. We're looking forward to getting those filled and maybe even beginning watering as early as May 19th. So we thank them. We thank the Lions Club for all their help. Building maintenance wise, we were Summit Fire. We did over close to 300 fire extinguishers throughout the village of Osceola, everything from vehicles to buildings and beyond. HVAC roof plumbing was installed. Things were looking good for the rooftop units as we enter the season. These 60-degree temperature fluctuations aren't helping much, so we'll look forward to that again later this week when it hits 31 degrees overnight. Any questions?
Do we have a brush drop off anymore?
We do. Depot Road.
We can drop off to 3 inch or something.
Yeah, I'll use this right now to explain the situation we've run into.
Yeah, one of the situations, so we had a semi-public site, which kind of spread word of mouth at the airport. As we all know, Airport Road is signed, it is restricted to airport vehicle operations only as the only entrance. So at this time, that site is only used internally, approved by the airport for public works to use because we just haven't, we have a ton of brush. So we've signed it appropriately through the years. We've converted the site to down at Depot Road. We have roughly 10 rules. It's available from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday at this time. One of the things that by creating this site, I think we're on our 3rd year. It's been wildly successful in the fact that residents now year-round can bring stuff down. It also has cut down on our man hours for curbside pickup. I think when I first started here, it was a full-time gig. Went down to a month. Now it's down to 2 weeks, twice a year. But we've been inundated. There's a ton of brush down there. And we have to find a solution budgetary-wise to bring somebody in and probably grind that up, similar to some.
We use Dresser's chipper, right?
We do. That is what I would consider small frame. So
Yeah, it's a tow behind unit or
yeah,
something.
tow behind unit. Other municipalities are using Sylvester grinding out of Roberts, Wisconsin. So I've been in contact and working with them to try and get their equipment here, get a price, get it ground down to chips that we can utilize in our community and our parks. The residents can have too.
Well, everything's looking good.
It's coming along.
Yeah,
Pretty good for May.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I was
Part of the reason I asked is we've been really fortunate. We haven't had a lot of wind and storms yet.
Yeah.
But we'll probably get more trees.
I wouldn't be surprised. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, library.
Ann is off this week, so there will be no report.
All right, fire. You guys have been busy too.
Howdy, everybody. Yeah, it's been pretty busy. Last month we had 11 runs total. 9 were in the village of Osceola. 1 was in the town of Farmington and 1 was on the St. Croix River. Run breakdown was 1 grass fire, 8 medical lift assists, 1 boater stranded, and 1 traffic crash. Training for April consisted of CPR refresher. We toured the hospital last night. That was our first training of the month. Went through and we wanted to look at all their electrical stuff up there just to get updated and familiarized with everything. So in case something shorts or would burn, we could do turn the power off to certain machines. And then at the end of the month, it'll be vehicle extrication. Airport hangar inspections are going well. We had about 8 to 10 that we had to send certified letters out. And I'll be following up with a couple of them that needed to comply with some gas meter issues. So other than that, that's it. Any questions?
What was the boat or stranded? Did you use an airboat or what'd you have
We
to do
used the
there?
airboat. That was the first time we went down with the airboat. He had, it had ran out of gas. And so basically we did a gas delivery, but it didn't start.
Yeah, but-
So we ended up towing it up, but we learned because we didn't know for sure how to do this with an airboat, but we learned how to tow a boat alongside. So it
Oh,
worked out really well.
good. Towing them from behind is not a good idea.
No,
all right.
no.
It's a new hairdo.
Nothing in there.
All along, just-
Nothing in their boat would be there when you got it.
That would have been a rough ride.
So, but anyway, so any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Well,
Thank you.
Police.
What's everyone doing tonight?
Andrew.
AJ, how are you?
All right. We have also been busy.
Yep.
So I guess in April, we generated 346 calls for service, compiled 61 incident and traffic crash reports. Our officers made 3 arrests and 2 criminal referrals. We initiated 31 traffic stops and issued 31 municipal citations. Our police administrative assistant processed 11 records requests and background checks. Some of the incident types that we dealt with in April included several ordinance violations, a death investigation, mental health related incident, multiple warrant confirmations, and 8 separate school related incidents. Other news, Officer Tremblay responded to a trespassing complaint at the old OMC building where several individuals had fled. One of the suspects was identified and apprehended, and the subsequent investigation led to discovery of drugs inside of the vehicle. That suspect was arrested and transported to Polk County Jail. Officer Rubin responded to a trespassing complaint related to a domestic issue that had been ongoing in the village. He encountered a suspect who was in possession of illicit drugs and several weapons. That suspect was subsequently arrested on felony charges and transported to Polk County Jail. We utilized our flock network to great effect. We were able to wrap up a hit and run to an unoccupied vehicle as well as a retail theft using our flock cameras. So they continue to be a reliable and excellent asset for our village. As far as administration, happy to report that Dalton Dodge, one of our officers in training, passed his PRT, physical readiness test, and has been signed up and just waiting for the final confirmation for enrollment. But what I've been told is that's pretty much just a formal email that will be getting at the end of the month. McKean Miller, he's continuing to progress in his academy curriculum. I recently passed a state handgun qualification, and we're continuing to have him in the office, which we're finding is another great benefit where he gets to kind of see hands-on what we do and take his academy teachings to, practical level in our community. We also completed our biennial pursuit training at the municipal airport. We had several agencies in attendance for that. That was put on by the St. Croix Falls Police Department. What's notable about that training is it's required every 2 years for an agency in order to maintain their certifications. And just happy we were able to coordinate and get that done. So big thanks to St. Croix Falls and Public Works for letting us use their cones. I don't think too many of them got run over. But, and then the airport, of course, for letting us use their campus. So other news, we just began utilizing a mapping application that was free to our department. What's cool about this is that eventually it's going to be deployed throughout county-wide. All the schools and all the law enforcement agencies will have access to it. So if there's ever a critical incident in one of the schools, an OSCO officer responding to St. Croix Falls will have real-time information on where other officers are located, as well as detailed maps of those buildings to assist in the response. So we look forward to practicing with that and getting to know it, and hopefully never utilizing it, but we'll be ready if you do. Otherwise, we started interviewing for the school resource officer position. So getting some pretty good candidates, and hope to bring in an update as far as someone we picked out for that in the next month's meeting. So, lastly, I just wanted to touch on, we had a critical traffic incident last week. It's not in April, but we've had a pretty big community response to that. We as a department were shocked by it, as well as the community, and just happy to report that the juvenile involved in that is doing well as can be, considering the crash. State Patrol is going to be handling the crash portion of that investigation. There's two different types of reports. There's the crash report, which details the kind of chain of events. They also did the reconstruction, where they brought in their recon team, did the mathematical mapping of the scene, kind of determined what the chain of events were in greater detail. Osceola PD is going to be handling any criminal action that was related to that. But once we conclude that investigation, it's still open. We look forward to sharing more information with you guys. In the meantime, I'm just really proud of our community response to this, and I wish the family the best. So.
Yeah, well, we're really blessed to have the department and all the first responders to act so diligent on this. It's a tough situation.
Yeah,
it really is.
Nope.
And but
just happy that we were able to have police, fire, and ambulance on scene right quick. So.
Yeah.
Was it actually at the crosswalk?
No.
Does that reporting, once the investigation is closed, provide any information, and depending on the facts of the situation, if there's any opportunities to improve safety or signage, or does that reporting provide any information that we could use to evaluate if there's anything we can do along M to make it more secure? I mean, accidents happen and they're terrible, and I echo those comments. I'm glad that we were able to respond, and I'm glad that this kid is recovering. We can't prevent everything, but we can try to make things as safe as we can. So are there opportunities after those investigations are completed to look and see if there's any safety aspects that we can consider? Or is that not really the purpose of those? I can't imagine it's the purpose, but is there a role that we could?
Well, I mean, we document, our traffic crashes that happen in the village and whatnot. However, I'm not totally familiar with this, but maybe Ron can shed some light. A lot of times if we're doing like speed studies or studies of roadways, usually that falls on the state of Wisconsin to complete that if it's a state highway, or county entity if it's a county road. I know that generally we are familiar with several areas in town where people are more apt to speed or run stop signs, and we do focus our enforcement efforts there. However, I mean, we can't be everywhere at once, and we try to spread our resources to address it as best we can while still being available for the rest of the village. So.
Yeah, Chief Bach's correct. The village can request any kind of extra signage or crosswalks on a county road, but ultimately Polk County has to decide whether or not they'll do that. And conversely, the same thing for state highways.
Mhm.
You know, you gotta do permits and stuff for the state and they'll ultimately decide, but in the meantime, you just focus on enforcement and stuff, so.
Going back to that trespassing over at the hospital.
Yeah.
Where are we at with that? The nuisance statute or enforcement over there?
Working on the raise, they're, working on the raising of the building, and that should be completed here shortly. In the meantime, they're looking at doing some safeguard measures to prevent that.
It's very hot and it's the spring, but it doesn't take long to lose a summer of construction. So at this point, I doubt they're gonna build anything. If they're gonna raise it, I'd like to see, it'd be great to have a plan before winter to see fencing and stuff going there.
If they do fencing, it'll be before, I mean, around early summer if they do fencing,
Yeah.
but they're still looking at, late summer, early fall for demo.
I don't want it to, it's been going on long enough. I want to keep the pressure on it because we don't need to keep taxing AJ and his staff. So if it was any other property, we'd be assessing nuisance fees right away.
Well, and
Absolutely.
I agree because we keep seeing the deadline being pushed back, so fencing or making sure it stays buttoned up has not been happening.
Well, and honestly, there's no reason you can't put a construction fence up right now. I mean,
We can't mandate that. We can just enforce our village
start putting enough
ordinance.
fines on it,
You know?
they'll figure something out.
Yeah, it's just gotta be buttoned up or secured or taken care of at some point.
I'm willing to keep bringing it up every meeting, but if something doesn't happen, I'm gonna really get pushy about the fact that we should be enforcing some fines on it. Because there's other properties in town too where that an issue. And we can't keep looking other ways. So
Any other
Maybe-
questions?
maybe next month I'll get more poignant.
Yeah, it's had 8 school incidents. Is this an uptick of things from the year? Or is this,
Most of these incidents are gonna be minor, like, tobacco related offenses at the school, truancy, that sort of a thing. I noticed that there was a little bit of an uptick in April, so I thought it would be worth
I'm
mentioning.
glad you brought it up because it's starting to look like hard numbers for those contacts.
Sure.
And that's given us all the more reason why that resource officers, it's there again. I think
Absolutely.
we're on the right track. So, and the flock network that really makes me excited to see that start working and to incorporate for enforcement.
Mhm.
Boy, that's,
It's like working on cheat mode. It's great.
yeah, it really is.
Well, and not only that, but things that aren't documented are if a crime happens in a neighboring area, we can rule out the fact that it didn't go through this way or come this way.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's so many headaches being saved. That's time of an investigation, not only for this department, for other departments.
Yeah, we often get requests from other agencies to check our network.
Absolutely.
For vehicles, so.
Wonderful.
One last thing and I'll quit asking questions. I remember when we got this in, you had pointed out, I think that there was one way into town that wasn't covered by flock. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I would love to see it expanded a little bit more. However, I think that we've got the majority of our main thoroughfares covered. But yeah, there's one point of entry into the village that
To me, that seems like I know which one it is, if I'm going off of memory. That seems like a really good spot to add one. Is it on your agenda, budgeting, or how does that happen to add one
I
there?
guess depending on how we're looking at the CIP, I mean, I wouldn't mind getting some bids to see how much some additional Vulcan cameras would cost. However,
What do
it's,
they run usually?
on a 5-year agreement like we have now, I would just ballpark maybe $1,000 a year per camera. Again,
That
depending on
seems
what the
pretty cheap.
total agreement is, so.
Yeah.
Oh, 3,000? Okay.
3,000.
That's what he said.
I heard 3.
I might be completely off base, 'cause-
Yeah, that's light, it's.
That area where I think it's missing would be I'd love to see it added out there, a couple of them.
Yeah, a lot of agencies, talking to some officers in Brown Deer, they actually put one in front of their Walmart. And, Walmart had a safety grant that they applied for, and I'm not sure if St. Croix Falls did that or not, but it'll capture a lot of stolen vehicles, warrants, because everyone goes to Walmart, right? And so they're getting all that influx of traffic.
He's in the delivery. I ain't going there.
That's a lot.
So, but yeah, no, they've been awesome, and I feel great that we have them. We're, like I said, it's like working with cheat mode. So, all right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, AJ.
Administration.
Building inspection, we had 4 new homes being constructed, or permits filed last month. In July, you'll receive your year-to-year update of where we're at from comparisons. Right now, I don't know that number off the top of my head where we were compared to last year, but 4 is a good start, and hopefully we go above 16 this year. So that is all I have for the building report. Admin, working hard with the 3 developments that we have currently going on in the community. I look to be finalizing purchase agreement with Caleb C to start his 4 fourplexes up on top of Ridge Road there. And Werzer gave me the go-ahead this week to start the purchase agreement, TID agreement, and development agreement. So Werzer's looking at doing 5 buildings up there. Looks like 4 12-plexes and 1 possibly 18-plex. And I just got today that their 12-plex taxable value is $1.9 million. So that's substantial growth within TID 3. So those are good numbers to have that allow us to complete Ridge Road using tax increment financing for Ridge Road completion to connect it through. So that growth up there is very, very promising and looking like something that should be breaking ground this year, assuming all goes right. We're working with the airport and Cedar Corp for the sewer for their development south of the airport there, making sure that we're allowed to use that area and what can be done to share the space and work together for the future sewer line out there in the airport for the Pinnacle development. They will be asking for a PUD for that development with the planning commission, and they should be getting that stuff either in June or July, depending on where we're at with the sewer issue. So getting that finalized. Early May, I went to the league conference. It was paid for by our league insurance company, so it was a free conference for me to attend. We were awarded a $10,000 safety grant over there, so we're awarded a grant for safety equipment for our workers. So that's something we can use this summer. And that same week, Tanya was at the treasurer conference too. So we're getting ourselves educated of changes in Wisconsin, which can be sometimes painfully slow. A lot of stuff is tied up in the chambers right now. Changes are slow to happen for that. Things they're looking to do is increase shared revenue and how can they adjust levy limits to help small communities like us. So those are changes that they're looking at helping at the league is in that areas. We should be seeing the finished audit in a month. I'm hoping that holds true this year. We get that before the end of June because we're getting to budget season shortly where Tanya and I will start creating an outline and department heads will be submitting their own budgets. Board will be looking for board input possibly by September on that. So that's where the budget is currently. And then the Verizon Tower, we have a few things we're negotiating the lease, but that's almost ready to go to the attorney for final signed off and then approval in June. So the Verizon Tower that would be over there in Oakey Park is almost complete now for the lease agreement. And then they would need site plan review too for that once that is done. Any other questions?
Their construction on that looking like this year or next year?
For the Verizon Tower? They're hoping end of year, but they said a year completion from when we started talking, which was April.
Sure.
So that's the best time I can give you is they said year completion from when we started talking. So we'd be looking at next April for the safe date to say, yes, they'll be done with that. And then Verizon also reached out recently too about, not Verizon, but a contracted company about putting signals up on stoplights and stuff, but that's not our right of way. That's the state stuff. So there's other options they're looking at too.
So they're what? They're
You can put little,
Repeater or something?
yeah, repeaters up on traffic lights.
for what, for Verizon or?
Probably third party cellular. What's the, maybe I missed it, Ridge Road, is that gonna go as part of the, now that Caleb's moving on that, I think between Caleb and Werzer, that's the last 2 parts, right?
Yep. And there's one parcel still left that could be developed. But that would give us enough TID increment to pay for that road.
The current two?
The two, yes, because the amount of volume that Werther's doing is creating a lot of increment. Their development, they're asked between 1.3 and 1.1 and 1.3 of tax increment. And that's to get the utility out there reimbursed for their land purchase. So that would be going to them still, but with that, we're still positive in that TID area up there to support it.
So are plans for that road coming soon?
I addressed Eric started those, right? We directed him to start those last month.
So that's probably a next summer project too.
26 or 27, depending on the speed that they're building.
So,
We'll have a better picture of that later this summer to see where the building's at.
so we're gonna start seeing some pressure on this roadway. And so that's being addressed too, I would assume, right?
I'm contacting the state to see what can be done on 35.
Yeah.
Didn't East Farmington do a study and be
No, so
jumped on it or something?
no, they wanted us to conduct a speed study with them. Unfortunately, speed studies don't always have the desired effect as one would think, because what they do is they sit up there with a camera or a speed gun and they figure out how fast traffic's going. It's going to confirm that the speed's appropriate because people are going that fast. The DOT looks at things that slow people down. So whether it be development around it, increased housing. I've told them that we have a huge development coming. We should look into it. And their answer was, we're reactive, not proactive.
We're reactive.
So I'm communicating with the DOT, letting them know what's coming, trying to work solutions with them. I've talked to possibilities of roundabouts on the north side of town to slow people down. All these, I'm just looking at options to see what they're looking for to slow people down, because we know that traffic, especially out by the hospital, is coming in way too fast. I know the fire department deals with it all the time when they're trying to pull out. Cars don't stop. I know Paul's almost been T-boned coming out of that driveway.
It's
So
ridiculous.
there's a lot going on. Unfortunately, as we've said earlier, we don't have control over that road. All we can do is keep talking to them.
Well, now we've put it out there. We're talking about it. And you know, when people start getting a little angry, well, we're trying what we can
And the
do.
good news is development, more cars does lead to them slowing it down. So
Absolutely.
that's something good happen.
What would take them to bring that reactive
Crashes.
moment?
Lots of crashes. Yeah.
Even afterwards?
Um,
Or is that something that,
I told them that there's a potential for 200 homes out there in the next 10 years by the airport. And they're hesitant to do anything until it's actually done.
until it's fully built and
Mhm.
probably a couple months after
And they have
that, if
years of-
not,
years of-
or,
Years of data is what they
Yeah.
want.
But we have other things coming in also besides the homes, and things grow, so it could happen sooner than later, hopefully. You know, we don't know.
But yes, I'm making sure that we're telling them everything that's developing so they're aware that the pressures that we put on 35.
You're doing your job. Anything else on this? Chamber.
Explore Osceola is their new branded name. I have nothing from them. I will say we are meeting I believe it's May 21st with business owners and have the pre-construction meeting for Cascade Falls project. So business owners will be having a meeting after our pre-construction meeting that day with MSA for the timelines, the numbers, the people to contact. So people should be able to, or the business owner should be able to go.
So is that gonna be in here, the business, where's the business meeting?
I have to check that invite. I was out on Friday when I went out.
Okay,
But there is something happen. Oh, and then also I'm working with Wyatt in June to have a meeting with the DOT, Minnesota and Wisconsin on the bridge. Now that timelines have been solidified, to have a meeting with business owners about what they can expect. And it's going to be put on by Minnesota and Wisconsin DOT, not me, because people need to realize that they're the contacts. I can be a liaison, but I have no say in what happens with that.
good
project.
idea.
I'm changing screens, so bear with me. What's the status on when does Falls construction actually start? Falls, the stairway.
I
construction.
haven't got a firm date yet, and that's the pre-construction meeting is going to be for. Once I get it, I'll send that out to
You
everyone.
got a ballpark?
I do not have a ballpark right now.
Okay.
No.
Where did, I know we had, talked about like, there's traffic flow obviously and construction equipment, and then I think there was like a laydown yard discussed. Were we still thinking back behind the Dairy Queen? Was that,
Yes, for equipment that might possibly, yes, that's where that would be.
oh, that in Depot Road, but Depot Road's gonna get busy with the train and stuff.
We also have the right of way on 243 there too. That could be used as a staging area.
Sure, in the little park there. What I was looking for, I was trying to understand, so our access back to that lot behind Dairy Queen is actually along the old drive-through of the Dairy Queen.
Mhm.
And I think that, is that building gonna get, I know I think businesses moving that direction?
I haven't heard anything about opening or who even bought it on that one.
Okay. I pulled up the GIS and I was looking at access there, and it's pretty narrow through that spot to try to move equipment back and forth, so. Okay, good enough. I'm rambling. I was just curious.
It's a tough construction site for sure.
It is, and we definitely have an access there. It's another one of these discussions with a neighbor about, hey, by the way, we're gonna use our property. So, it's an ugly intersection. Okay, that's all I have.
So we want to stay proactive and get a hold of them and let them know.
Well,
We can host the meeting and hope people show. That's I mean,
yeah,
we'll get their contact information. Drew said he'll send out email updates to anyone who signs up for it for the business owners. So we're trying to be really transparent and focused on the businesses.
Yeah, it gets a little tough. Nothing else? All right, looks like we got a bid here, Public Works mowing.
So we did post legal notice in the village of Osceola Sun for 2 weeks, combined with my efforts to reach out to 5 local mowing companies that have either done work in the past or have a well-established reputation in the area. They have all but seemed to go away. So we have one bid this year, Mr. Scott Williamson and his son, in the amount of $3,425 for the contracted year. I have spoken with Mr. Williamson via telephone. He's assured me that they are capable. And as you may have noticed, after our budget talks in 2024, we did scale back, whether it be through the sale of public property that we owned in the past, in the industrial area, and combined with letting a handful of parks go wild. That list is shrunk. So there is a little bit less. And of course, as you can see, one quote has come in.
just going back, say 5 years, have we ever had the same contractor twice
We have
for 2 years?
2 years. As we watched primarily the pandemic come through, we watched, there's just a ton of uncertainty, but I watched rates raise upwards of 30%, quotes raise upwards of 30% in one fiscal year. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why it was a topic for 2024 in me asking, because we just continue to watch it rise and rise and rise. And I think what else is concerning is the fact that reputable contractors that we've had in the past can't find the help and have completely just kind of closed the doors, hoping to reassemble in the future so that they can be back in business.
It's like nobody's hungry.
It seems that way.
Do you know about how many hours does it take a week to mow all these? Ballpark's fine.
I would put it somewhere probably in 13 hours if I had to ballpark it.
we're aside, yeah, one of these days there'll be a tipping point where might be paid to just get another summer helper. You know, a seasonal person to just do this.
Yeah, and we've tried in the past. I mean, we were fortunate enough to get one last year to apply. We're fortunate this year. I'm sorry, we did end up with two. One very much later in the season. Fortunate this year we have two, well, one for sure, potentially two ready to start the first week of June. But I think as much as we try to shop local, stay local, we're just going to, and as we noticed with other contracts in the past, some RFQs that I brought you within the last fiscal year, we're just going to have to start expanding our area. I believe.
Yeah.
Can you, just, sorry,
No,
background question. I remember the discussion around the mowing, and I think in the initial budget discussion, it was like $18,000. Then we talked about it and went down to 15. I guess I'm just surprised by the difference between the budget number that we had and the bid quote number that we got. Because that's a massive difference.
I think you've got somebody who's not a business attempting to wag a number.
Well, and I guess, I mean, what I'm getting at is the locations that are listed in the bid document, were those, I think you had talked about that there were some locations during the budget discussion that you thought, okay, we won't mow those. Did that $15,000 in your mind cover all of these locations? Like this was always the plan for the locations that we were going to mow, or did you further pare back where the mowing was going to happen when you went out for bids?
Both, but yeah, certainly the chopping of the old sort of mowing contract, established places that we had mapped out. Certainly, yeah, does not meet this number. I mean, what we have here is a resident and his son who have assured, you know, that they'd like to take this on. And
My math says that's a value, even if they only produce half.
Oh, I'm not
we're still
disputing
ahead.
the number. I'm just working to remind
I
myself.
don't want to tip my hand.
They are, but I've been on the board long enough to also hear Todd say before that the smaller operations have not been able to keep up,
Oh, for sure.
cut it or do it,
too big.
and then they fall behind and things like that happen. I mean, that was a big concern for a while as well.
Right.
Not to say that the Williamsons will do that. I'm just saying that's always been a concern.
And I'm not arguing with the bid. I'm just working to understand to refresh the memory of how we got here.
Maybe where you're going, I don't know that I'd change Todd's budget, because if a commercial company came by and did that, that number seems really reasonable.
Yeah, this year we'll just move it around, next year we'll keep it the same.
And there's potential to utilize those funds too, as you mentioned, for either a third summer help, or have already been approached by the oncoming summer help that he has the ability through a work from school program to even contribute some additional time up until the end of the year, where that funding might play a role.
There you go.
It would be neat moving forward, somewhere along the line, just a ballpark of what's the tipping point to add somebody for just this stuff, or maybe something else, because this is definitely under that from what I'm guessing. But if you start expanding, we start dragging people in from out of town, that number is going to go up, and then we can see it. So,
Yes, as Ron mentioned, we've had in the past, we've fallen under those circumstances where contractors have fell through, and then of course it falls upon the department to make those things happen, and then lesser maintenance and projects get done. We average between 7,000 and 8,000 per seasonal traditionally.
well, if AJ's not making calls over at the hospital, he can hop on a mower and patrol.
There you go.
Just double dip. He'll have free time.
That's innovative.
As long as Public Works can work weekends and holidays.
Oh, they will.
Sure.
Yeah, they'll take
We'll just,
that.
heck with St. Croix, we'll combine two departments here.
They'll be just fine with that.
Now we're really going to start arguments.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be good.
Do we want to entertain a motion on this? So
I make a motion that we approve that contract.
okay,
I'll second.
Mike. Second by Nicole. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
You betcha. All right, we got professional services. Let's see.
God, where are you going?
We got one more.
I'll just keep going here.
Gateway Park Development and Construction.
Yeah, as part of our capital plan and our wonderful park comp plan. Next on the list is utilizing that 3-acre space out in Gateway Meadows. So what I'm requesting essentially, at this time, we're not looking at construction until next year. The total of 186,000, I don't feel like it's going to get us very far, so I'm looking for the board to approve the 2025 budgeted 52,500 in the development process and getting it started.
And we also talked about that any excess will go to help fund that park further for next year, as we don't anticipate using the whole 56.
Where, what's the status of Airport Road?
Airport Road is it's private airport road up until where the gate originally was.
So we're gonna develop this park.
It's completely private at this time.
Completely private. They're allowing access for the bus garage. This park access would actually be on the north side within the development. There's about 5 parking stalls there right now that we could create.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on the GIS, that's what I'm playing with here. So there's no access in theory from the south side.
Not at this time.
No, and the plan would not be to allow access down there either. I mean, have parking down there.
I'm still in disagreement that they can just automatically assume it's theirs just because they plowed it a few times. I think we ought to argue that more. Is the plan to put a driveway in and add more parking? Because 5 seems light. And that road Gateway Parkway is one of the real thin ones, right? Narrow roads.
Well, Mill Street's pretty wide. I think that's where.
That changes to Gateway around the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, because like Anthony that goes through the middle is one of or Ashway.
Weird alleyways.
Ashton. Some of them are narrow, but yeah, sure enough, you're right. Mill's standard width-ish.
Yeah, I think it's ultimately going to depend on the popularity of the park and what it brings, especially with not requesting any park space from any future development from the south in lieu of additional funds, perhaps to provide better access, pedestrian access, bike access from the south to this park as well.
Just a heads up on that one. With future developments, we're asking for currently payment in lieu of park space because we're having a hard time keeping up our current park space budget we have. So adding more parks to an already strapped budget didn't make sense. So for like the Pinnacle development, the Wurzer development, and the Caleb C development, we're asking for payment in lieu of park space.
That way we can try to start focus on maybe 6 dynamic parks within the village instead of having 13 plus that just we can't fund nor maintain.
Because I switched screens, what's the dollar value?
56.
52,500.
And what are we gonna use that for? That's for the professional services, okay.
Planning portion.
Yeah, Todd and I already have some ideas that we'll run through with SEH on this plan too.
Can you help me understand the relationship between these planning dollars and the comprehensive park plan that we did? Because there was community engagement. Like I guess I'm curious what we're.
So the park plan itself was telling you where the parks are, what they need in the future for that, identifying the uses, what's going to be. This is planning the park, basically what it's going to be with documents, because this is going to be a park that has multiple phases to it. It's going to potentially have a playground type area, potentially a walking path and all that around it itself. So it's going to have to be engineered too, because there's going to be drainage involved and so on going forward. So this is giving the ability of SEH to go ahead and help design this park with us. And then also we'd be seeking stewardship dollars too. So part of it would be for applying for the stewardship grant too.
T-Mobile grants, I mean, anywhere where you can grab about $50,000 stewardship grant.
And keep in mind the stewardship grant's the one that's the $1 match that we have for the Cascade Falls. So that's a big one. Like I said, I have no problem writing the ones for the $50,000 because those I can do within a week. Some of these take far greater time than that.
The 186 is the actual construction, right? Is that
That's
the-
what's set aside in the CIP next year for this park.
How was in the CI, or the comprehensive plan, did we rate the parks on which ones were the worst, or you tell?
I see what you're saying.
I'm gonna go down two routes here and I'll just jump to the end. I'm not sure that this park is the right park for this money. I'm also concerned that 50% of it is in planning and we don't have good access on it. I'd rather see us spend this money to fix, I disagree with the idea that the airport owns this road, and I feel like 200 and some $1,000s to develop this one without having good access on the south side is not a good idea. I do think that from a density standpoint, it's a great area, but we're missing the 5 spots for this, for 200 and some $1,000 park. 5 spots ain't right. So we got a $50 horse on or a saddle on a $10
Well, I
horse.
mean, if we're successful with the stewardship grant, that it's closer to $400,000 for this park.
I feel it's a really poor use of the $400,000 if we don't have access on the south side.
Do agree to an extent. We do have pedestrian access at this time up and down Gateway Parkway that would give the availability for that community.
That's the other half of it that I do agree with. It's a super dense area and it's probably heavy younger families with kids or older families with kids, people that would use a park. So I'm not totally against it. I wish we had that. I'd feel better if you told me you're going to put a dog park in for 50 grand and Eric was going to spend 10 on a civil plan for a fence, great, because that'll handle 5 spots.
Absolutely. And that's certainly part of it. Regardless of how much I shouldn't say regardless, how much we have at this time, it isn't going to fulfill that 3-acre space. There will always be the potential to resort back to that park comp plan in the future and continue to build upon it. This would just be merely a start, like as you mentioned, perhaps a light climbing park and a dog park.
How much did we build the skate park for?
200, roughly 200.
And that was all in.
Yeah, it was about 186 built. The city put another $30,000 into it for the demo and the site approval, but the build itself was about 186.
And we have that parking lot associated with it.
That it would be an additional, so that we're closer to.
I'm going off of space wise, not.
No, I'm trying to think of that parking spot. That's gonna be another. That was 60,000.
Correct.
So we're at 240 right there.
But we have that amount of spots for a park of equivalent value and
That-
potential use.
We deem that as kind of overflow too for other access too.
Sure, and you're gonna get more transient people using this one than that one. There's probably a lot of people that live there that are using it. I'm pitching both sides of the argument here a little bit, but I'm struggling with it.
Did our comprehensive park plan lay out a strategy that the esteemed planners in their wisdom feel we should follow for maintenance of existing parks versus development of new parks? Like, have we answered this question already in where we should prioritize maintenance versus development?
It doesn't necessarily prioritize where we should start and end. It does individually prioritize each park in their needs. So, yeah.
And he's just asking for permission to spend the dollars that were given in the CIP that was approved by the board of the last CIP. Or the current CIP, I should say. Yeah, usually approved CIP items do not go to the board for approval. This one being the large sum it was, we kind of thought it should go for the board for approval, but it was kind of already agreed upon for the approval of the CIP.
There's some other potentials too. They run they call it a grant, but really it's a 50% off sale every November for equipment. So we'd have the chance to get $110,000 potential playground set for $50,000 this fall. There's some other factors that come into play too, but.
I'll move approval of capital funding PR 009.1.
Did the motion.
Yeah.
Approve.
I'll second that. There's
Motion
enough
by
young
Neal.
people living there that
Yeah,
this is
second by
probably.
Arvid. For the approval. for the CIP PR 009. All in favor?
I,
Opposed?
Okay.
Motion passes 1-nay.
Thank you.
It's a good argument, Mike.
I'm glad we're doing it, but I still wanted to vote nay because I'd
Yeah,
like to see us
no,
fix the road and
I
get
understand where
more
you're
parking
going.
there.
Yeah.
I agree
Yep.
that some of our existing
I
parks
do,
need some
but-
work too.
Well,
gotta-
there's been a lot of commentary on Eric online, and that was one of the complaints
You
over
feel
there.
the heat about the parks, and I understand that. I see it. But this is also something prior that we have
Well, and
worked on.
I think that as we're looking at the budget this year, if we're hearing a lot of comments about Eric Park, we should prioritize it at that point. And I
Absolutely.
think we have an opportunity to do that.
Absolutely, we
We
can do
also have
that.
CIP coming up again.
And a
Yep.
CIP coming up where we can prioritize that as well.
Do that.
So I agree with Neil on the, what are we prioritizing first, development or what we already have in the community
Yes.
that people would be using?
And, you know, Todd, I really have to say that you are listening, you're aware, and, you know, it's hard to make those dollars, to make them move. And we have to be a little bit more on the spot when we're working on these parks and listening to everybody on the network, what's going on. All right.
I have
Osceola.
one other question that's
What?
somewhat related to this. It
What?
may be something, another comment quick. There's an extra 3 acres adjacent it, and maybe at some point we rearrange some drainage and capture some
Oh.
parking there. Just to the east.
Okay, know what you think.
Are you gonna wanna go to Osceola Bluffs, or you okay with that?
Next topic, I misplaced my memo. That's why I'm kind of shuffling paper around over here. Yeah, Osceola Bluffs, we're working on the amendment to the development and TID agreement. What it is just changing of dates, so it's more applicable to what it is now after the court case has been resolved. What it's saying is the demo would be happening by the end of this year, and that construction will start in the spring of 2026. So that is what the dates changed in the TID agreement and development agreements are. And then also we are upping the assessed value from 18 million to 22 million. What this does is it means that they're assessed a higher tax rate, which means that we capture more of the increment from this development. And this will allow us to make sure that the TID increment to them is paid back by the end of the TID district.
So we're looking at approval of the third amendment.
Third TID amendment
Yeah.
and second development agreement
Uh,
amendment.
So are the incentives they receive also upped?
Nope, that's the amount that has been the whole time. Nothing that has been given back to them has changed. It is strictly the assessment value and dates that were changed.
So or did I just, you said there was a start date? Was that you mentioned it, but I'm not seeing the
development agreement or the TID agreement. That's what I was looking for my memo of which one was which.
I see a third amendment to TID agreement, updated project deadlines.
Yep, that'd be it.
So what's section 2.3A, 3.1 and 3.2?
It's in the TID agreement. Where did that piece of paper go?
I'll run to the end of this one too. I feel like we ought to be able to add some language about when the heck they raise it and add a fence to clean up the site.
If you want to add that, you can mention it, make that part of your motion.
Can you help me with what 2.3, 3.1 and 3.2 say so I could add some language that would fit?
Well, there's also updated project deadlines under the First Amendment to the Development Agreement, and I see a September 1, 2025. And I wonder if that's not a more relevant date to the discussion. That feels like a start date or something to me. I don't know what it is, but
Which one? I'm sorry.
I'm in the developer agreement. Your memo notes section 3.3.1.
Yep.
We changed the date from September 1, 2023 to September 1, 2025.
Mhm.
shooting in the dark that that's a relevant date to Mike's
That's when we
question.
were talking about the demo,
So the deadline for a demo,
the start date for the demo. I don't know why the heck I have such a hard time with my notes here right now. But
so the latest date they can start the demolition is September 1st of this year?
The demo needs to be completed by the end of the year.
All right, let him find his notes for a second here. And then,
So the TID agreement's here, the development agreement's here. Okay. Which one are we talking about now?
I don't know. I think between Neil and I, and Neil's trying to help suggest that maybe one of them might be contained in the amendment to the developer agreement 3.3.2. My gist is I'm back to the point of I want something to happen and I'm tired of letting this just slide. They can get a fence company out here in 60 days, or they can get them out in 30 days and have that fenced
My
off.
comment there stays that if you want it, make it part of the motion and add it to another document, another number on the development agreement.
another page.
So number 11 would be that.
Number 11. So section 11.
You would add a new one under, it'd be section 4.4 would be what you would do.
You said section what?
4.4.
I don't think we have the actual,
I think you do.
I see
The
amendments.
last section is the 4.3.
That's the next page.
So
there.
next would
Sorry.
be,
I'm always afraid to go too fast or I'll end up losing where I'm at.
yeah. So next would be,
Actually, to make this clean and easier, you make it a new section so you can add to it. So I'd make it section 5. If you want to make that a motion.
All right,
I'm still discussing.
5.0, right?
Devin, I agree with Mike that I think there's been some slow movement in securing the site now that the lawsuit is over, now that we know the project can proceed. Can you help us get a stronger sense of when at the latest you expect demolition to be complete in your conversations with them?
They're planning on late summer demo, which the demo should take 2 weeks.
But in late summer, sort of August, we're
By the
thinking.
time the contractor comes in, yes, it'll be August.
Okay.
They were securing contractors. They basically had to hit reset when the lawsuit happened.
Sure. So we are,
They had to redo all the bank financing. They had to go through all their contractors again because all the contractors moved on to new work because contractors can't wait for work. So they basically they didn't start anything until the lawsuit was done.
so
They couldn't move forward.
we are looking at a summer of the building in its current form, waiting for demolition.
Yes.
And I agree with Mike on the need to,
Brad and I have been pressing them for a fence now for a month.
well, and I hear that you've been pressing, but it's been a month and there's no fence. So I'm sympathetic to Mike's point about taking a stronger hand in enforcing some kind of security arrangement for the place.
Another way to go about this might be to say by a set date, say by, June 15th. I mean, maybe that's too soon, July 1st. If the
So-
building is not brought up to current code with the noxious weeds, the building secure, all the graffiti covered, it has to be completely fenced in by then or fines are faced. I mean, that's
So
more than 30
I'm going to be
days.
devil's advocate. What's the fine?
Well, the issue is we can only, as a board and as a police department, enforce current village code, right? That's all we can do. So we could let them know ahead of time and be proactive and say, if this isn't in compliance by this date, you're gonna get these tickets. And so first offense is it's not first offense. Well, it might be because it's first offense then 12 months.
Like a nuisance ordinance.
Nuisance ordinance, yep. So I mean, it's minimal. It's a lot less than the fencing.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be devil's advocate. If I look at the cost of getting in and have somebody fence it or even remove it, I'd rather take the fine than,
The fine should be cheaper than.
yes.
It is. And they said we can't.
I'm also cautious about adding language that's vague and not enforceable. And then we're here in 3 months talking about, well, that's not what we meant.
Well, the problem is I don't understand the liability here. There's so many openings now and the liability for entry into that building and I don't get it. I just don't.
With effort, it was buttoned up for a long time and stayed buttoned up, but the effort's gone away
Yeah.
to do that, the incentive.
So,
So, I mean, and the graffiti and the noxious weeds that
right.
are growing and spreading in
So,
neighbors' yards.
Why, okay, here's my thing, okay? Why aren't we just doing this? Yeah, that's private property. It's non-compliant. Why aren't we knocking those weeds down?
So
Securing
if,
that?
I'm gonna
Putting
go
the
back,
fence
I'm gonna go
around.
back to or something I dug into a while ago. So there's the dirt that ended up on the sidewalk up by the Catholic church after that. I think there was a notice and then you had a 2-week and then we charged out based on wage. I don't know that Todd's gonna get excited about the fact that we tell him that he's gonna wanna go over and start cleaning trees, and then we're gonna end up in a discrepancy on that. I'd be inclined to do something really obscure, like say, if it's not demoed, heck with a fence, we want 24-hour surveillance, manned surveillance.
Well,
'Cause
that,
then it's off of everybody, and they have a security guard that's wandering around at 24 hours a day. That would cost some money. That would speed them up.
How do you, you talking about making that part of the
Sure, why
contract?
not? You write whatever you want in. Wasn't it Van Halen that wrote in that we don't want green M&Ms?
hey, you know.
Contract's a contract.
And Van Halen had something.
Yeah, 2 people have to sign a contract too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
It's not worth losing the development for something
No, I
like
get
that,
it.
but.
Yeah.
You know,
But
at first,
we-
yeah.
We've been way too lax on this for so long.
I don't know. I don't think I agree that we've been lax. I think that we've been locked
Yeah,
in.
we have.
I think we've been locked in a protracted legal battle over a development,
There's
and
anything
we have
stopping us from
been.
enforcing our ordinances.
Yeah.
But
Contrary
we
to
just
illegal.
agreed that the ordinance would likely not result in any behavioral change
Had
that
it
we'd
been,
like to
had we
see.
been enforcing it since it started years ago, it
All right.
might have.
All right, here, let's do this. Let's send a certified letter of our demands, okay? Send a letter to them, say, this is the ordinances that are being violated. This is the safety issues that are being violated. Secure it, trim it, get rid of all the writing so it doesn't invite more stuff. Just those common sense things. Send a certified letter to Gone, get it over with, and let them respond. And then after so many days, we can,
There's no
Start
response. It's 30 days. You write them a letter, they have 30 days to come to compliance. Otherwise,
Right.
it's the fees plus there's the cost of abatement. I mean, if the
Sure.
village wanted to, they could abate the issue and charge them and.
We
Right.
just subcontracted out.
I think-
Exactly.
I think that's really the way
I
to
would
do it.
our guys not to go in or around that building due to the.
So,
Well-
part of what I'm saying is I know darn well we're not gonna come to an agreement, and I'm even willing to make these 2 motions, full well knowing that we're not gonna come to an agreement tonight. Even if we do and write something in there, it's not gonna be enforceable for squat.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm just tired of this happening.
And do we want this with this? Okay. I mean, really look at it. Do we want to add 5.0 with an entourage of all?
I'm gonna
kinds-
say no. I'm making the point that we're not doing anything.
Right.
It's silly to try to get it in here now because we're not in a position to do it.
Let's not.
However,
Right.
it's,
We're wasting our breath, we're wasting our time.
I mean,
I think we need to send a certified letter, give them 30 days to comply, get it secured. If not, we'll deal with it. We'll take care of it. You'll get the bill. You don't pay it, it goes on the tax roll. Done.
yeah, whatever the ordinance enforcement is.
It's a start.
Just like anybody else. That way something gets done, the people see it, and
I would make a motion to approve these 2 agreements to the developer, the Third Amendment and First Amendment.
by Mike,
A second.
by Neil, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. 8th Avenue driveway.
Last week at the planning commission, they voted to approve an improvement to Shane Tui's easement on village property into a class 5 gravel driveway. In the meeting before in November, they requested that the engineer reviews it to make sure that it would not add additional stress to the stormwater already there. SEH recommendation was that it would not increase any drainage into that area just by improving this to a class 5 driveway. So the planning commission last week voted 6-0 to recommend to allow Shane Tui to improve his easement into a class 5 driveway, as long as it follows ordinance 186, 14 and 15.
So I think I asked the same question, but I'm gonna do it again. This is no different than when, I think it was Curvita put the fire hydrant in and then gave it back to us, right? We're essentially letting this resident improve village property and then give it back to us, right?
What it is we're allowing him to improve his access into his property. However, it is also going to be deemed that if we ever need to destroy it, we have the right to go to it.
Sure, it's still our property.
But we're allowing him the right to improve it on our property. That's why it's before you guys tonight, that we're allowing him to improve his access easement into a class 5 driveway.
So the other thing that I brought up is, it isn't just, there's, I think, 4 parties at fault here. There's encroachments by the village the road isn't where it's supposed to be. There's 2 other residents that have encroachments onto our property. And Shane is, I guess I'm not sure if Shane in theory might be using somebody else's property to access his own.
No, Shane's not. He's coming down the road there and coming across right
Well, in
here.
theory, that road is not completely on village property. If I remember right, the road is off center.
Well, there's a line there where Shane goes, that's
I thought the road
not-
was built a little bit too far north? South, excuse me, south. Doesn't the road actually exist towards the resident
Right there,
fences?
right there's what the certified map is drawn.
Without seeing an aerial, I'm gonna say sure, but if I remember right, it's not perfect. There's some discrepancies there. And the comment I made at the planning commission meeting is I'm all for him having access to his property, but I think everybody needs to come to an agreement or get it figured out so that we don't end up with a bunch of residents back again complaining about stuff. There's a fence in the wrong spot, there's a trampoline in the wrong spot, and there's a shed in the wrong spot. If the aerial's correct. And I don't remember, I think they found survey markers, but I don't know that the survey was done.
The easement is all through the city right away, easy to find. There's no issue with where it's going to be. So the certified map was not needed.
Okay, so, and I guess what I was referring to is the beginning of 8th.
Right here.
Yeah,
This whole section though was without a doubt on village property, so there was no need for a survey.
So if Shane goes in there, he's not gonna end up dumping rock on somebody else's property and have them complain about it?
The road is far enough set back, as you can see, where the property line is here, and his driveway is going to be.
That's right there. Okay, I'm seeing it now. I wasn't quite. I'm old now, the vision is going. Do we, how does, when J&S goes out there to start dumping rock, how do we know that they're gonna dump it where that's shown? They had issues with the retaining wall last year.
This one is pretty straightforward.
Well, you'd have thought that the retaining wall was too.
Well, Todd and I found that pin in 30 seconds, so. This one is following the tree line back to his property.
Do all the neighbors agree with that spot? Have we had any other issues
The
with it?
property line is right about here.
Sure.
So they know to stay to the south of that beehive there, and they'll be in good shape.
You're on the planning commission, aren't you?
Mhm.
You just vote 6-0 or pass it.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought I saw. too.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve the easements.
I'll second.
Since we're on a discussion now yeah, I think he needs to move forward on it, but now that we're here as a board, that it's how do you know it's gonna go where it's gonna go and that nobody else is gonna show up and complain about it?
It's all marked. It's all marked
Is it?
clearly. It's with the measurements and survey.
Okay.
If it falls that it's not,
Well,
and
it's
James
not.
says it wrong, then that's up to them to go.
I thought I heard it wasn't surveyed.
The
Oh,
we didn't
GIS, right?
we didn't pay for the survey to be done. It's the map is there for them to find it. It is recorded in the county. So JNS can pull up the recorded survey map. We didn't have a research.
I've said my piece. You can call the vote.
The what?
You can call it the vote if you want. I said my piece. I'm done discussing.
Yeah, I have to recluse myself because I'm kind of involved.
Ben's a neighbor, so yeah.
No, I get it. He can still call the vote.
So,
Okay.
but
Yeah, you can call him off, but he's gonna.
So who made the motion?
I did.
Okay, Ron made the motion
I'll second it.
and Mike seconded. All in favor?
Somebody else already did.
I already did.
Oh, Nicole did. Yeah, I thought somebody did.
The what?
I did the second.
I'll third it.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, you got that? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, that's the end of that. All right, then we've got approve 2025, 26 board, commission, and committee appointments. Everybody should have that.
Print it off, keep it, make sure you know what commissions you're on.
Make
Thanks.
copies, hand them to your friends, give them
Things
your
changed a
phone
little bit, Not
numbers.
too much,
Yeah.
but this is the board appointments for this year and next year. Or to next year. I should say through April.
Yeah. And then, everybody happy with that?
If you want to argue it, he's not here tonight.
No, he's not feeling well, so he will not argue with you.
What are we doing with Wheels and Wings?
We haven't had a person volunteer for that for a long time.
And what's the airport's not required.
It's not a village event, so we're not required, but if someone's more than welcome to go to the meetings.
Oh, and then what, chamber? Is that gone now and it's bid and that's a
We're
different?
currently no longer, Chamber has changed now to Explore Osceola. And being the largest donor for the Explore, and also being the village itself, I thought it'd be more important to have the voices of the business owners on that and not the village. So I've relinquished our spot on that board to be business owners. But still working closely with them.
Then approve commission and committee citizen appointments, which have.
Do we need to make a motion on those appointments or they just happen?
Yeah,
Are we doing both those and the private ones in one motion? Is that where we?
Yeah, you can, and then, oh yeah, also the private ones. This could be all we done in one motion, yes.
These are all renewals.
Yep.
On the citizen,
Isn't Mark new?
not for that, no,
Mike Rolone? Okay, I was thinking he was new.
these are all renewals.
I'll make a motion. We approve the board, commission, committee appointments and the citizen appointments as presented.
motion by Neil,
Second.
second by Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion pass. All right, future agenda items and updates. Anything, Nicole, welcome.
Thank you.
Anything on your mind?
I would like to revisit, I know the accident didn't occur on a walkway or
Mhm.
is what AJ said, or, but I would like to revisit maybe talking about getting something on the walkway over in M. Flags, lights, something to maybe deter or show that someone's walking there.
So the county would have to do, the village could request it, but the county would have to approve it or.
But it's something that
It's-
she wants to work on,
Yeah.
so.
That makes sense to me. It's a long straightaway and it invites high speeds. And
Yes,
there is a crosswalk there that's kind of not hidden, but at grade.
I kind of feel away about the quick trip in 35 as well.
I
Yeah,
would agree.
Mhm.
That's-
With all the people living across the street that cross.
Yeah. I agree with that too.
that's something that needs to be addressed.
I'll echo this and what Neil said earlier. Perhaps this is an opportunity to revisit a lot of streets and intersections in Osceola
Mhm.
and address safety. I think of the Third Avenue crossing at the railroad and then up to M. There we gotta have something on the side of that for people to walk on.
Ron, what do you got going? Anything, Mike?
Devin, what is kind of on your agenda for next month that's going to come up? What do you expect to see?
I live month by month, really, things change so quickly. Nothing pressing right now at this time.
I did have one community member on, in reference to some Girl Scouts getting involved in that park in the dog, not necessarily maybe gateway, but a dog park. So maybe,
Yeah, we'll be have her contact me.
I copied you on it.
We'd love to work with someone that's willing to help expand the park that we're working on. I don't know if Todd mentioned, Dog Park has come up with a Gateway Park, so it'd be a perfect time to work with someone or a group on that.
Some more money.
So that might be something.
I handed it off to the experts.
Nice. Anything, Neil? Nothing. All right, and just from me, welcome, Nicole. It's gonna be the best 2 years of your life. You're
I
gonna
hope
change
so.
the crowd.
At 82 degrees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
82 degrees. You can start out with that.
If I don't melt.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, we survived the
Highly
interim
recommend. I
leader.
give you
Four
five stars on
five
Google
stars,
reviews.
All right, that's the end. Meeting adjourned.